Well, I just completed a build in an NZXT S340, and while I like the case, the fans are fairly loud. So it's time to hub it up and see if I can silence things a bit with the Grid Plus from NZXT. Hello everybody and welcome to Tech Uploaded. I'm Chris, and like I said, a little bit noisy on my S340 build. I'm not having a great amount of luck with getting the fan control software on my ASRock motherboard to be consistent and reliable. Every time the system reboots, things seem to get kind of noisy again. I have to go manually start the software up, and it's not a great experience. So NZXT sent me this Grid Plus fan controller, and this is a perfect application for it. I've been holding on to this for a while, kind of wondering where I could really put it to good use, and this really seems like the best application of that. So basically, take a look at the box in the front, you can see that it's not a bad looking device for something that's really designed to be tucked away somewhere, never to be seen again, so it's good to see some attention to detail still put into the actual design of this thing. According to the box, the dimensions are 73 millimeters by 73 millimeters by 18 millimeters. Its maximum wattage is 30 watts, and it has a 2-year warranty. Looking at the back, you can see that it does have that familiar cam software that I've seen a few times now from looking at the Kraken coolers. And that's one of the things that's actually pretty nice about this. If you've got a system where you already have an NZXT Kraken installed, you can run the control for your fans and for your CPU cooler, liquid cooler, and you can also just check all of your general system information and temps and things like that all from one piece of software, which is kind of nice, just have everything in one place. And looking at the back, it does show that it comes with that cam software. It has voltage and short circuit protection, so you're not going to blow anything out. 6 fan channels, a discrete installation, and it does include 2 fan extension cables. So that's good if you have this thing tucked somewhere in a really odd location, and say you've got a back fan and this thing's all the way at the front of your computer and you need to make a run. They've thought of that. So it does show that it's the Computex D&I Awards 2014 winner. So I'm assuming that's design innovation. So let's take a look in the box, see what comes in this thing. All right, I think I'm opening this the opposite way. I forgot my scissors, so I'm just gonna come at it from the bottom and pull it out, and you can see that everything is packaged nicely in here. It's all just in one plastic tray. So we'll go ahead and take a look at all the things you get with it first. It does come with, it looks like 5 cable ties, which is always a nice touch. Some silica gels, oh, don't eat those. Some 3M double-sided Velcro? Is that what I'm looking at here? Yep. So it's got Velcro already ready to go, so if you need to Velcro this somewhere odd in your case, you're set there, which I may do that. And then here are the fan extension cables that they mentioned. And then finally, there's a little converter to go from your Molex to the actual plug on the device, because it is a little proprietary power plug. Proprietary. It's proprietary, I declare. And finally, the USB. So you'll need to run this to a USB 2.0 header, just like you would do if you were using a Kraken cooler or many of the other CPU coolers out there in the market that need to communicate with the computer via the software. And then last but not least, little fan controller. So this thing, I mean, unless you are really, really tight for space in your system, you should be able to make this thing fit. Taking a closer look at it, you can see that you do have three pins on both sides, and then you also have the USB in the back for communicating with it, and then you also have your power connection on here. So that is something to note, and looking at the fan extensions, they do address that on the fan extensions. This is not full PWM, but if you do have a 4-pin fan, it looks like these little fan extensions will take care of you. You'll still be able to plug them in, but I don't know that this will actually be giving you the full PWM control because these are just 3-pin headers on here. But we'll play around with it, we'll see what happens. But enough looking at this thing. Let's put it into the S340 and see what we get. So I'm here at my secondary computer workstation with my glass desk. You can see the computer back here. And I've got a couple of fans that I'm going to add to the case, a couple of 120 millimeter NZXT fans I've pulled from various things probably throughout the last year, as well as the Grid Plus fan controller. So what I'm going to go ahead and do now is get out the old scissors and snip all my old cable management, which is kind of a bummer, but I can retie it back up with the included cable ties. So I'm going to go do that, move some things around, put the fans in, and then get the controller installed. And once I do that, I'll show the back of the computer and kind of show where I tucked it, and then we'll take a look at the software that comes included with this. Well, all right, there's not a great deal to see here actually. The installation was pretty straightforward, just ran the cables with the included cable ties and tied everything back down again. I do have 2 additional cables coming out of here now for the 2 front NZXT fans, and then I just ran everything down to the bottom here, and you can just barely see it tucked away, but that is where the Grid Plus is residing now. So I've got a little bit of a loose cable situation here that I can probably just, tuck behind some other cables, and that'll make it stay put. So there you go. And other than that, it didn't really affect the cable management at all, and everything still looks just fine. Nothing is in the way. Plugged all 4 fans in, no problem. Plugged in the power to the Molex that's down here available, and ran that USB cable, and boom. The whole thing took about 5 minutes. So let's go ahead and boot up the system and see how this works out. Okay, so there it is. Everything's installed, and I have the software installed now as well. So let's go ahead and take a look at what putting this little Grid Plus into your system actually gives you. All right, so once you install the CAM software and restart your computer, you'll see it down here in your system tray. You can just double click to pull it up, and here you go. If you watched my Kraken X31 or X41 video, then you will have seen this before. This is the same exact software that the Kraken uses for its fan control and pump control software. So you're landing here on this page, and it shows you your CPU temp, which is higher than usual because I'm running the broadcaster software to screen capture. And it also shows the GPU temp, and then you've got your load usages for CPU, RAM, your network, and your hard drive, and you can click through those, and you can see that OBS is using the most resources right now. And then you also have CPU, GPU, RAM, network, hard drive, and fan usage charts that can go all the way from by the minute to by the month, which obviously there's not a whole lot to show here since I just installed this, and you can either do the heat or the load. And you can see they kind of coincide with each other pretty nicely there, but that is not what you are here to look at. What you're here for is this, the Grid software. So when you jump into here, you can see that right now I have my fans profile on silent. It is linking all 4 of these together, so you can see that fans 1 through 4 are around 800 RPMs, with fan 3 being the most timid of the 3 fans at about 750. They're feeding them all about the same wattage as well. And then you can also see your CPU and your GPU temps here. So say I didn't like my CPU temp being like that, and I was just like, I'm gonna crank it all the way up. If you do that, you jump into manual mode, and you can see that your slider here completely goes away, starts pushing the highest voltage it can to your fans to really kick them up, and then everything really takes off as far as cooling goes in the system. And you can definitely hear the difference between 40 and 100%. I mean, duh. But you know what, it's not a huge difference, but I will say the system is definitely quieter now that I have this installed, because I like to drop down to 40%. I think that's perfectly adequate for a G3258 and a 750 Ti. As a matter of fact, 4 fans is probably overkill. Now I did notice that, clicking on these individually didn't really seem to do anything. I thought maybe you could control them one by one, but it doesn't look like you can. You can rename them if you want to, but I'm not gonna bother. You could call it like, fan front if you knew that's what it was, but I don't know that's what it is, so I'm just going to leave it at fan 1. And then you can also go and you can do a custom profile, which I did a crazy one just to test it out, and it does work. Or you can also do performance, but in my case, I'm just going to go with silent. I think silent is just fine. And yeah, you got your notifications down here. If anything goes crazy, you can you set up your notifications for if any of these things happen, it can warn you. There's just a nice little bit of flexibility here, and the best part is if you have a Kraken installed, over here you'll see the Kraken, and then you can click on that and you'll be able to do all of the customizations, such as the temperature of, or not temperature, but the color of the LED that's actually on the cooling block, and your fan and pump speeds and all that stuff. So you can pretty much have everything together in one package, which is nice. And I have to say, of all the software like this one is probably the best looking and the easiest to use. So I think NZXT is doing a good job of creating a software package that kind of goes across the board. If you're in the NZXT ecosystem, then you can kind of keep everything in one spot here. And I think that's pretty nice. So again, just as with the Kraken, I'm pretty impressed with it on this system as well. It works nicely. So there you have it. That CAM software is back again, and this time for a fan controller. And I have to say, it does what it advertises it to do, and it brought the sound level way down in my S340 3258 Intel 20th anniversary Pentium edition build, and which is good because with just 2 fans, it was actually considerably louder than it is now with 4 fans. I did not get the opportunity to test out PWM fans with this because I didn't put any in the system. I thought I was going to, I didn't, but what would happen is the fan would just switch over to being the generic control where you don't have quite the flexibility as far as your curves are concerned, but you still, you're getting a lot of customability as long as you're okay with doing, it looks like all 4 fans or however many fans you have in there at one time. But as long as you're okay with that, which in, you know, like I said, in my case I am, then this works out really well. And for a motherboard that didn't have very good fan control software on it, this definitely solves that problem. And if you just wanted to put a lot more fans in your computer, this solves that problem as well. So you've used up all your motherboard headers and you're going wild and you got 12 plus fans in your computer or something, this will do it for you. Very easy to install, very easy to tuck away, out of the way, and really there's not a whole lot of cables getting in the way or anything like that. So at the end of the day, can't complain. I think this thing does its job. So yeah, what else is there to say? It's a fan controller and the fans are spinning. They're not spinning too fast, so it's nice and quiet. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please go ahead and click on that subscribe button. You can also follow me on Twitter over at TechUploaded. And you can also find me on Facebook over at facebook.com/techuploaded. And finally, you can hit me up on the Gmail at techuploaded@gmail.com. Don't be a stranger. Check back soon. Now I have these extra cable extensions left over, so I can add them to my box of randomness. Whenever you have something like this, always hang on to it. Little pro tip, you never know when down the road you find yourself needing just this.